Public comments relating to additional matters. Remember the statement I made before. Your name, your address, 3 minutes. You can come back after everyone has asked their question or made their comments. You can come back a second time only.
Okay, you guys hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
My name is Stephanie Bonner. I am at Indigo Lane. When the letter was sent out offering a timeline of late January for kids to return 5 days a week to school, which was sent to and read by all the parents in the district, only to subsequently be retracted only a few days later, it demonstrated a clear lack of seriousness that this school and board was working to return our kids to school. This removed the credibility that trusting and waiting that the school and school board will get the children back to in-person learning can in any way be effective. You are directly impacting 3,700 kids and managing a $78 million budget. This isn't toddler time. This is serious. This is our lives. When pressed on why this reversal happened so suddenly, the only answer that could be provided was lack of plexiglass further devalued that credibility. It very clearly highlighted a void that responsible preparations were not being implemented. These two critical events bring up both specific and general questions that need to be answered. Specifically, who decided to send out that letter? When will they be made available to answer questions? Who subsequently made the decision to cancel these plans? And was someone overridden? When will you be sharing the paper trail of these decisions? When was the first time the district noticed the lack of plexiglass? What plans have been made to bring the plexiglass in? On what specific date was the plexiglass ordered? How much was the total dollar amount? And why wasn't the needed amount purchased in August to be preparing for all of our students returning for 5 days? Generally, since these two events so clearly outline that the current transparency and communication methods absolutely cannot be trusted, how are you going to improve your own communication and plan to best? Will you approve of having a public witness of our nomination to listen to your meetings and deliberations? You owe it to the community to take a public vote when you decide on issues that directly affect 3,700 students and their families. Why should we continue to trust your team has capacity and will get the children back to school when it is already near February and trust has only eroded since the beginning of this school year? Why are private schools around the corner from us providing in-person learning at a much higher rate than our public schools? Are you comfortable with the education gap that is created? Remember, we all have children who attend these schools and who have been impacted in various ways by the lack of in-person. Study after study shows the detrimental effects of limited social interaction at this age. I'd like to make clear that my concern is specific to the events that transpired this month and the clear lack of planning that was exposed that would show seriousness in working to get our kids back. We are parents and we are also taxpayers. And having a situation unfold where private school children are able to safely go in person 5 days and public school children are not, creating an enormous education developmental gap in our children is absolutely not acceptable, and we deserve better, and we pay way more in taxes to deserve better. Thank you. And this can be emailed, so the questions that I ask be answered.
Thank you, ma'am. I take full responsibility. We have the email, we have your email that was read into the record tonight and accepted. So I will personally be reaching out to you in the next 2 days, and I'll be more than happy to discuss all of the points you just brought up.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One-on-one.
Okay.
Mr. Bombardier, do you have anybody else on there?
There's one.
Yes, there are people over on the Zoom.
Miss
Yes.
Kristen, go ahead, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry. Kristen Giblin, Newland Place. My son attends the Strathmore Elementary School, and I would like to say that I've had very positive experiences. He is full virtual, and he, I think, is thriving under that environment. His teacher is Mrs. Meredith Smith, and she has been phenomenal. in engaging the students. And I think that the district learned a lot from the time in last March and applied those lessons. And I think that the virtual learning that he's doing now is much more organized. I think it was great for what it was in March when my son finished up his first grade year. And I think you guys learned a lot of lessons and applied them for the fall. I think everybody is missing out on something, by being home and whatnot. But you know what, frankly, I have relatives in North Carolina who have sent their kids to school, and all of them got COVID. So I think that the district, regarding the other parents' comments about the communications, I think that the district is doing its best to send out communication with the information that they have, and I think the problem is that the information that the district is getting is changing by the month, by the week, by the day, by the hour. So when they send out a communication, they send it out with the best of intentions, and they're making decisions based on the information that they have. It's just that the information that they get is likely changing. And so I would like to commend the district actually on trying their best and to make decisions with the interest of safety and education in mind. I am very pleased, for one, with the education that my son is getting, especially in Mrs. Smith's class. She has really, really been phenomenal. Mr. Pappas, Nathan's gym teacher, has also been phenomenal. I do work from home. So will I say that it's an ideal situation? No, I get interruptions during the day, but between my husband and I, we are, muddling our way through. But to go back, Mr. Pappas has really done a phenomenal job at engaging the students. I can't imagine how difficult it is for the teachers. I know that they are all putting in probably 10 times, 100 times more work behind the scenes to make everything as normal as possible for the kids. And my son enjoys, going in front of his computer every day. Mrs. Smith is there with a smile. Every Wednesday, Mr. Pappas is there encouraging the kids. My son now is jump roping and is excited about physical fitness, which I think is, just fantastic. And the key here is that my son wants to learn. He wants to learn. So I think that the teachers that he has had during this virtual experience have inspired him. So I won't take up too much more time. I would just like to say that I have had positive experiences, and I thank the district and the Strathmore Elementary School, Mrs. Barra, who has been a fantastic principal there, for making decisions that they feel are in the best interests of the student safety, the staff's safety, the community's safety, and in the interest of their education. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Public. Yep.
Can I have a motion and a second to adjourn?
No. There's a couple here, so.
Okay.
We're okay.
People have to speak up.
He just can't see.
That's okay.
Hello.
Hello.
There was an online one that I allowed in before.
Hi, this is Nicole Johnson, 12 Bank Street, Aberdeen. I've spoken with Dr. Micah and Mr. Bombadera a few times in reference to the Cohort A, Cohort B Wednesday alternating schedule. And I'm speaking on behalf of just mostly parents that are on our page at Wake Road. We still are not understanding why the schedule is not balanced. There are 10 days that Cohort A will go in person for marking period 2, and 13 days that Cohort B will go in person for marking period 2. And then for February, Cohort A again goes for 9 days, and Cohort B goes for 10. I'm not understanding what the issue is, like why it can't just be a little more balanced. We know that you maybe can't adjust second marking period schedule because that would adjust people's lives, but February, nothing was really changing. It keeps being that Cohort B is going more days, whereas Cohort A is actually losing a day with the Monday holiday in February. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I will sit with Mr. Baumann here in the morning to discuss exactly what Ms. Johnson just said.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, we,
Jamie Miller, Heligan Drive. Good evening. At the last meeting, I heard a parent being told to her question that it wasn't going to be answered. All questions should be answered here. We have the right to have these answers for complete transparency. Contained populations need that 5 days in person. The fact is, the teachers are saying they're definitely afraid. To me, it's a cop-out. I'm not saying there isn't a virus or that people can't die. I've had people have it and recover. I had people have it and die in my family. However, these populations are 10 kids spaced out. They take their masks off for lunch. I guess this is where the teachers say they're definitely afraid because they don't know where the kids have been. Well, how about to trust us? Because we trust all the teachers to be doing the right thing as well. If an in-person teacher gets sick, does it actually mean it came from a child in school? Or could it have possibly came from something they entertained outside of school? For special ed kids who need in-person school, online is useless. The education and therapies aren't the same no matter which way you slice it. These kids already are behind and strive on consistency. 5 full days needs to stand for these kids. If a teacher is afraid to be in person, they also shouldn't be doing anything extra. The risk is the same. You have no idea from one person to the next who, what, when, where, or why a person they came in contact with, from a mail tech to a cashier. I have to work. If I tell my boss I'm scared, they will tell me, of course, stay home. But they also will find someone else to do the job. And guess what? There's always someone else. On another note, this has been going on since March. What's the actual end date? What are the markets in which it will be safe? Because that's all we hear, is that when it's safe, we'll go back 5 days. This is for the regular. I'm a full-time working mom, paying for kindergarten for my daughter because I can't be home with her to do online work or to pick her up on those half days. So be honest, are you ever planning to do 5 full days again? Is eating the problem because the mask is being taken off? How is there no better plan after a year of already trying to figure this out? How can it be okay for half days, but full days is a problem? But my kid can go to Y time with a different group of kids and eat. Isn't the point of school giving a lunch to ensure that children eat? Sending lunches home does nothing. Who knows if the kid is actually eating or it's being taken away from them? Just another thing to think about in regards to the well-being of our community children and the effects of the current school conditions. The issue of the plexiglass should have been done a long time ago. And if masks work, besides lunch, what's the absolute need for it to be the make or break factor? Maybe a lunchroom with it in it would be more helpful than in each classroom. As a parent, I wouldn't even pay for what my child needed to get back inside the school in person to get that education. Also, as a parent, you know what I'm definitely afraid of? It's not the virus. It's not giving my kid the fair chance to get the education they need to have a successful future right here, right now. I'm also afraid of my child's mental health. There are a lot of things coming out proving that mental health problems and closures is a real thing. And we are sacrificing one kind of health for another kind. Where does that make sense? In the last meeting, someone stated they are tired of hearing teachers don't want to go back to work. But guess what? We're tired of hearing the same thing for a year with no answers and still probably won't get one. I do not feel the district is doing this best, and I don't understand why the answer is always to go with the group that doesn't want to do things. Kind of like me wanting my kids to be in school, along with 25 other parents out of 30. But because 5 say no, it's no. It's not fair. We need to find a way. We need to find a way stream. And for the teachers who are afraid, I'm sorry society made you feel this way, but the reality is COVID isn't going anywhere, and schools cannot stay like this forever. And remember, one teacher can teach 1 million kids virtually, so always be careful what you wish for. Online does not work for all kids. We need the kids back 5 full days. Utilize all the space you have lunch in classrooms, do what we can to get them in now. As the situation changes, we can tweak them to get them back to normal. We owe this to our children as a district, and we cannot take the easy way out. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
you got,
There's no comments in the,
you
Is there a
Yep, you're
comment
up.
on Zoom? No?
got, no.
Hi, Diana Pell, and I'm 17 Idlestone Lane. And my comments are a little bit more pointed to one specific issue, which is close contact. The New Jersey Department of Health recommendations for local health departments for K-12 schools throughout, not just in their most recent update, but throughout have said they define close contacts as being within 6 feet of an infected person for 15 or more minutes during a 24-hour period. Now, okay, I mean, mean, that's pretty easily defined there. But when my son was quarantined, his entire class, it was 7 kids in a normal-sized classroom. The entire class was quarantined for 2 weeks. So I started asking around. And another friend at Capers Park. Again, the class is 7 to 8 kids. The entire class was quarantined. At Strathmore, the entire class was quarantined. Now at MAMS, had a friend there, that class was 10 to 12 kids, and most, but not all, were quarantined. So, I mean, the Department of Health guidelines, the most recent update, says that at times it will be difficult to determine whether, who was where and whether there were 6 feet. I don't remember the exact words, but it does say that these issues should be rare. These incidents should be rare. Not everybody 5th grade and under. Over that time, I mean, because of this issue, you have something like 157 students and staff are quarantined right now for close contact, maybe even more for all I know. That's an awful lot, and that's a lot of children being denied in-person education, which over and over again we've gone over is very, very important. So what we need is an established, publicly available policy and much more consistency. Absent any information, and with this level of inconsistency, parents are left to assume that the determination of close contacts and the resultant exclusion from school is arbitrary. We can't have that. And on a side note, and I've been over this, the COVID dashboard right now is showing 68 close contacts while the building was shut to students. I had 19, 9, I had 8 the week when we only had 2.5 days of school at all. Had 1 the week that the building was shut to everybody, December 28th. The dashboard is very difficult to use if it's presenting information like that. We had 68 close contacts and with no children in any of the buildings. That's very, very hard to work with as a community and be able to understand what's going on. So I guess I'm just bringing this to the board's attention. There's still a lot going on that just in the hybrid to try to figure out what's going on. Close contacts and whether somebody actually is exposed to COVID or not. Thank you. I know I kind of rambled. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cindy Santora. I'm at Lloyd Road. I have been called the vocal minority. I even have been called the transplant, as if these names somehow change the fact that I also get an opinion. As a member of this community, I have every right to stand here and express myself to this board. The first thing I would like to let the board know is I know my daughter's teachers are working hard. I know that some of my children's failures are definitely on my shoulders. I understand that. The fact that I work 46-hour weeks with long commutes to and from the city affect the amount of time I can dedicate to their education. Pre-pandemic, I would come home from work, cook dinner, check homework. Homework consisted of checking agendas, reviewing workbooks, and checking handwritten assignments. In total, we would spend an hour discussing their school day while I reviewed assignments. On test days, we would review textbooks together while making sure we cover relevant topics. During the pandemic, we were introduced to Google Classroom, which is my personal hell. It requires me to go on the computer and look at the 7 different pages for the multitude of teachers and subjects. During test time, there are no textbooks. What there is once again Google Classroom, which streams and names and lots of assignments. It requires zooming in and zooming out. It requires websites and passwords. It requires submitting and attaching and everything I just don't understand. I wish for a return to agendas and textbooks and full days of school. I want a return of handwriting and handwritten tests. My children in New York City schools were not geniuses. They were average students, grades in their 80s,
were the norm for them. This year, my daughter's grades are failing. I know I have failed them, but so has this district. I'm willing to take my part of the responsibility, but this district must also accept their part of the responsibility. Now I gotta ask a couple questions, because there's no way my children are the only ones failing in hybrid. Pre-pandemic, what were district students' grades like? During the pandemic, what were the district students' grades like? This year, September to the closure, what were the district students' grades like? I'm surprised no one has asked this question before. How has the pandemic affected grades of the students? I refuse to believe that my children are the only children failing in this district. During these trying times, what directions have teachers received about grading and assessment, and here's a really hard word, accountability? New York City has seen a boost in high school graduations and promotions. You would think this is something the city would celebrate. Instead, they are worried about the lack of accountability and the lack of standards. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just want to interject before anyone else comes to the microphone or calling in. There isn't a person on this board, especially there are a number of people on this board that have children in this school district. There isn't anyone, the board, parents, children, teachers, everyone is frustrated by what is going on. And when we look for guidance, whether it's the CDC, which fluctuates, I think one of the speakers brought that up, what would go on for a month, every day it's fluctuating. When you're talking about consistency, there is no consistency. Even the virus is inconsistent. If you listen to anything that was coming out in the science and the medical fields over the last 2 days, you have a number of mutant strains of this virus that are now starting to make appearances on our shores. And these viruses definitely attack and affect children, school-aged children. One of the questions that was brought up today in listening to the science and the medical reports happens to be the whole idea that if you're limiting 25% of the people that are going to dinner, how are you expected to basically fill a school building? And that's a damn good question, because in the end, you turn around and say, you're putting a lot of people in harm's way. I'm sure the teachers are frustrated, the administrators are frustrated. Think about all of the people that work for our district who either live in town or live outside of the town, who have children who are going to other school systems. And if you want to look at the other school systems, you can turn around and tell me, well, so-and-so is open 5 days a week full-time. I'm telling you they're not. And when they are, no sooner do they open 5 days than in a week or so they're closed and full remote again. There are quite a few Monmouth County districts right now in the red zone. The county's not in the red zone yet, but there are quite a few that have gone full remote again after they've tried to open. So yes, we're frustrated too. We're trying to put together a plan. When you ask for definitives on a plan, it is very hard to give you the definitive concrete answers when what's happening is the lack of control of vaccination, the lack of control of the doses of vaccination. I don't know how many of you have tried to get vaccinated, but you're already being told that the doses aren't there. And the supplies will get here sooner than later. And from what I hear from the scientists in the medical field, they're telling us that, the virus might come under control by the time we hit the summer, and maybe by the fall, we'll look at something that's normal. There is no normalcy right now. If you think normalcy is having to sit 6 feet apart, wear masks, and put plexiglass stuff against people, maybe in the Far East, but that has not been my experience in 50 years in education. So please believe me, we will try to answer as many of your questions as possible. But none of us can give you a definitive answer. If you want to know, do we have plans? Do we have plan A, plan B, plan C, just in case we can move to open up more and bring back more kids? We do have programs that are running 5 days a week. We have a great number of our kids going to the schools. I understand the whole thing about remote, that how difficult it is for remote and how hard these teachers are working. I teach college level, and believe me, it's nothing like what it used to be. It is very difficult for kids that need, adults that need to interact in person. I get it, we all get it. The mental strain is not only on the children, it's on the families themselves. You know, the social emotional strain, it's on everybody. We are all frustrated, we are all affected by this. All we can do when you ask for definitives, when are you going to start this? When are you going to do that? We can turn around and say we try to plan for everything, but we also have to listen to the CDC, the local Department of Health, and try to do what's in the best of the overall well-being and safety for everyone. Staff, community, everyone. And our community, our teachers, remember, their kids are going to other school systems. And as for one of the parents brought up parochial and private schools, we cannot compare ourselves to parochial and private schools. We cannot, they are on a whole other separate, you know, a trail, if you want to say, a path of what they're doing. And we can't turn around and say, well, they're doing that, why can't we do that? Well, you know what, it's not in the best interest because they're not public schools. They do not come under the auspices of the Board of the Department of Education and even Departments of Health. Stay away from making comments on or recommendations to the parochial and the private schools. So we are frustrated, we're hurting, as you are. We're trying our best to have plans that we can implement, not just plans that we throw out there and say, hey, look at this, that was a mistake, okay? And I think at our last meeting, I took full responsibility for that letter going out because ultimately I said, okay, send it out. And I thought we had plans, as somebody brought up about the plexiglass, I thought we had, you know, things more advanced, if you will, than we did. So I'm not going to ignore the fact that we weren't well prepared. I'm going to turn around and say we don't go forward. And I understand the repercussion of that. I understand what that did for parents who are planning on things to be done or moving more towards normalcy. I understand that. We're going to do the best job we can. We want to hear from you with some positive, you know, feedback, and believe me, I don't mind hearing about the frustration because we're all frustrated. We're all frustrated, and we're going to do the best we can. I think when you ask for transparency, I think some of that is coming through the letters that Dr. Micah is sending out on a weekly basis. I know Dr. Micah has opened himself up, as he did tonight, to turn around and say, I'll call you tomorrow, I'll email you tomorrow, you know, I'm open to, you know, listening to what you have to say, and I'm going to give you the best answer I have. I'm not going to make up an answer just so that you feel better, so that later on, when that doesn't happen, then the next thing you know, everybody's enraged again. But we're going to do the best we can to address what you have, and some of the, every time you bring something up, you know, we're going to do whatever we can to answer that to the best of our ability. If I could just say one other thing, I think before somebody else talks, Kristen says she has to leave the meeting, so why don't we let her have her second voice and we'll continue from there. Go ahead, Kristen.
Hi, thank you. Kristen Giblin again from Aberdeen. Thank you for affording me the opportunity to speak again. You basically said a lot of what I was going to say. You know, probably, I guess, in the minority here, and that I really have had a positive experience. I do not feel that this district is failing the kids. I feel that they are making decisions, like I had said earlier, the information that you guys are getting is likely changing quicker than you would like it to change. And I feel that you guys are doing the best that you can. I feel that You really, like I said earlier, have learned a lot from the beginning of the pandemic in March and have streamlined some things. Is this perfect? No. Is this ideal? No. You know, and everybody certainly is frustrated. I get frustrated too, but you know what? They can't open the schools yet. People want everybody to go back 5 days a week. It can't happen. Not until like everybody gets vaccinated.
Oh my
You know,
God.
it just can't happen.
Because we all know
Would I
that
love for my
happens.
kid to be back in school? Sure. You know, my son would love to be back with his friends. But you talk about normal and like he just said, it's not normal. There is no normal anymore. We can't go back to normal. We're going to have to create a new situation. This
Okay,
is with this.
Kristen,
Yeah.
can I just interrupt you, okay? Is that, you know, you're making comments which are fine, but at the end, you're not really asking questions. You were asking questions earlier. So we have.
Okay, I apologize.
That's fine, Kristen.
I apologize. I don't really have a question. I just wanted to say, you know, thank you to the district for making decisions in what I feel like is in the best interest of the students and their education and safety. And that's all. So thank you for letting me speak. And I'm going to have to jump off the call.
Thank you.
Yeah, ma'am, go ahead.
Hi, this is Stephanie Bonner again. Appreciate you giving us some feedback. Wonderful to hear, Kristen, you're having such a wonderful experience at Strathmore. I will say my child was at Lloyd Road and seeing what Mans is doing and some of the things that I know of other children of having an experience at Strathmore sounds great. My child is thriving. He has straight A's. He's doing great. I'm not here to say that this isn't working for my kid. I have 3 children. One I had to send to private school for kindergarten, and I'm thankful that I'm able to do that. I'm here because I want to send my kid back to school, and I agree, things change on a daily basis. But when I have children in other towns in Monmouth County, for example, Wall Township, K through 5 has been going 5 half days since September. Why? How is it safer while they are in Monmouth County there than it is here? Howell Township has been going 4 half days, K through 5. How is that happening? And I know you're saying private school is different. I'm not understanding in pure common sense, layman's terms, how someone who lives across the street from me, their children go 5 full days to St. Benedict's, and we're still here. We're still here. And I get it, like Kristen said, information changes on the constant. And I would say, from a different perspective, what happened and what transpired is kind of similar to saying preschool's free, and then it wasn't. People are jumping the gun. People are outlining what's being communicated behind doors for parents who can't attend hours-long board meetings or can't shuffle through the 1,000 emails and notifications that they get from Google Classroom and from the board to find out what's going on. Put a guideline. Put like, this is our phase. I know Howell Township did that. The superintendent put together phases and said, if this data supports this, we're moving into this phase. If this data supports this, we're moving into this phase. That's something that should have happened 10 months ago. This isn't new. This isn't going anywhere. Certainly vaccinations have been the crutch that everybody's been leaning on, but it's certainly not here. Here we are. Teachers are up next. Oh, you can't tell me what to put in my body. First of all, it's only available for 16 and above. It doesn't handle all the students that are 16 and below. So the teachers are there going to say, oh, we got vaccinated, but the students, I don't know where they've been. We got to get it together. We got to get our kids in school. It's the bottom line. I'm aware. I'm an American. I live in New Jersey. I live in this town. Information changes on the constant. Be transparent. Have a plan. That's the basis of everything that we try to teach our children. Be prepared. Have phases. And I don't think that's unfair to say, hey, the data in our district supports us doing this. If it changes to this, we got to pull back and go to cohorts. I don't think that's asking a lot. And I'm not here to teacher bash. My son has had a tremendous experience. I know it's not the same for lots of other families that their children are falling through the cracks. And in this town, I feel like it takes a village. And we help those families, and we support those families. But we also have our own children too, and the school district is something to be there for. And personally, my experience in Lloyd, there hasn't been this community building like MAMS or the great experience of Strathmore. I'm not, knocking anybody, but I have to say there's really been nothing. And I brought it to Mr. Jarabak's attention, like, where are the clubs? Where is any notifications? Where is any incentives for kids doing good or doing, you know what I mean? There's nothing. My son starts art at almost the end of January. Since school started in September, he has art club, which is great. Why were we not started since September? His teacher just started like break off into small groups and communicate with each other. Why wasn't this going on in September? And don't get me started about my kids starting with a different teacher and then transitioning to another teacher. There was no plan, there was poor preparation, and that's where our frustration is. For me personally, that's where my frustration is. If I'm told to email what's going on, I'm fine. I was fine, my kid was virtual. A letter was sent out 5 days, then it was pulled back. With no real explanation except, we thought we had plexiglass, but we didn't have enough. Now, I know if that was any other area of life, that wouldn't be acceptable. And as me, that wasn't an acceptable answer. We knew about these guidelines in August. We should have had enough plexiglass to be prepared for all of our students to return. It's as simple as that. And I think I hit everything that I wanted to hit. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's one more.
Sorry, I just felt like I didn't say that.
Yeah. Peter, Dodd.
Hello, this is Peter Ladati. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, I'm 25 Ivanhoe, and I've got 2 children in the high school. And first I want to say thank you, Mr. Ahern, for making the comments you made. We are definitely all in it together. I feel the pain the other parents are experiencing. I'm having issues with one of my 2 children, struggling with remote learning, but it is what it is. We're all here. What I wanted to say is I want to thank the board for working hard to balance the data of what's going on in the world with the needs of the children, the staff, and the community. There's nothing to be ashamed of by anyone on the board. You guys are doing the job you need to do. I do want to focus on a question, though, about this, which is I believe the latest statistics are that approximately 50% of the students in the district are full-time remote. And with hybrid learning, 100% of the students are virtual about 60% of the time, give or take. And as Mr. Ahern stated, most people would agree that in-person is always going to be better than remote learning. I'll say that at the high school level, remote learning has improved greatly over what it was in the spring as everyone adjusted and got used to it. I want to give credit to the teachers and the administration who put in all the effort to make this happen. But what I want to ask is, obviously a lot of discussion has been around the reopening plans for in-person and plexiglass and a lot of comments on that. I want to hear what the district is doing to improve the remote experience, given that we are likely to be in this state for some time to come. And as an example, earlier this month, I know Dr. Micah encouraged all the students to use cameras. So how's that going? Is that helping? I know I do remote teaching for my job to corporate, in the corporate space, and having cameras on makes a huge difference with the remote experience. So I guess the big question, I think I heard a couple of comments earlier about different teachers going to certain online workshops. How is the district applying the learnings from online teaching so far to improve going forward, given that we're going to need to support this type of remote learning for a longer period of time than I think anyone wants? And that's it.
Thank you for your questions. Is anyone on Dr. Micah, Mr. Bombardier, do you want me to address some of those questions?
Sure. Good evening. So a few responses. So yes, we have invested vast resources in professional development, in training, and in online tools to support remote learning. Most recently, we just purchased Google Enterprise for the district, which allows for breakout rooms, small group breakout rooms, polling, and a number of other features that allow remote teachers and students to have more collaboration, more interaction, ease of feedback. We purchased programs such as Edpuzzle, Kami, as well as Jamboard, which allows for interactive modeling. We purchased coaches, embedded technology coaches. We have a platform that we utilize called Teachable with a hub of not only resources and workshops created by our teachers, but also experts in the field of technology to support small group instruction, synchronous instruction, asynchronous, small groups, student engagement, virtual assessments, activities that support SEL and mental health has been a tremendous piece that Ms. Perez and her team are working to incorporate to support students on the end of social, emotional, mental health as well as the academic. So yes, the short answer is we have invested numerous resources to support the teachers. We have a technology committee. We have tech resources in every building that are there to support teachers. They meet monthly to look at and make a recommendation if there is a new platform that they feel would be beneficial to the students, and that's part of our regular operations.
You want to comment on the percentages that Mr. Ladati basically mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, the percentages right now is roughly about, I want to say 46% are on full remote. So it fluctuates, but it's roughly about half of the students in terms of when we look at the number and percentage that are in cohorts and that are full remote. Obviously, that varies. Parents can choose to go full remote at any time, but that's roughly the number we're looking at as of last week, is roughly 46%.
Thank you. Here's a question. Is it possible, you listed a great number of things that we are doing, both for staff and for students. Is it possible to do a PowerPoint by, let's say, the second meeting in February, was it February 22nd, I believe? That, at least we can put it up on the screen, parents can see it, and then, John, you can just do some fill-in. In other words, this is the program, this is what the address, this is the age number, grade number addresses, and here's what the program actually addresses. This is what the program is meant to do.
Yeah, we can do that for the next board meeting.
Well, why don't we do that because in the 22nd, the other thing would be also what I would ask, because this is some questions that have come out, and this is a very good question as well, is that the teachers, what are the workshops we've been sending teachers to, even though the workshops are all virtual, but we've been sending them to help improve their instruction. If they improve their instruction, then that basically has a positive effect on the kids. So if we can add that in there as well.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be very comprehensive, but it just has to be something that parents can see. Parents can, actually get a handle on it. Otherwise, it's just a whole bunch of labels flying through the air.
Absolutely, yes.
I thank you very much.
The MAM's merit honor, high honor roll, I'm just wondering if anybody has compared that to last year, just to see what the difference would be. I would venture to guess that there's probably a pretty big difference. Maybe not. Maybe some kids do better at home. I don't know. I also wanted to, I guess just, it just doesn't sound like we're making a lot of plans to be remote for a long time. So I just want to, anybody who's on the Zoom meeting remotely should really, I think a lot of people are not really getting involved because they figure, well, this year's a wash and we're just going to have to wait, and then spring will be better and the summer will go away again and we'll be back to normal in September. And I don't think that's happening. I mean, we're making plans to increase, remote learning. I understand that Mr. Ladati thinks that's a great idea. The amount of investments that's happening, it just sounds like this is going to be a long-term plan. That's really disappointing. Honestly, it's drained my batteries a little bit here, so I think we're going to have to focus on the things that we can do. I know the governor today talked about loosening some restrictions for spectators at sporting events, so I just want to make the board aware of that and see if we can move forward with having some parents at games, especially for the seniors, which he also mentioned specifically, and that's it.
Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, Diana Pell again. I just was sort of as surprised as Cecil about comments like, just in case we can go for more days, things like that. As far as I'm aware, I mean, I was here when we did the bond referendum for the HVAC systems and all of the buildings, and they're well filtered. And I was at the meetings that we were purchasing more plexiglass. We had the plexiglass that we got over the summer, and then we have more plexiglass, and that's coming in pretty soon. What else is there? What are we waiting on? Is there more stuff we need to buy? I guess that's my question at this point. You know, like, what's the next thing we've got to be prepared for? What's going to be the next excuse? Sorry.
Any answer?
Anyone want to answer that question?
Yeah.
Is there anything left?
It sounds like we're not
The
going back.
only, would be where we're at with CDC guidance and the Department of Health.
CDC, I'm sorry, that's what you're on, never mind. I
We-
said you guys want to stuff to the CDC.
And I can reach out, like I said, in the morning as well.
I don't know the answer.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else?
No.
Mr. Ahern, I would like to say something, please.
Go ahead.
First off, could somebody on administration explain the difference between Catholic school guidance and public? Because, like, somebody needs to really, they need to understand why that is. Jen?
Mrs. Martinez, I heard the Catholic school, and then you said something else, and I didn't hear that second part.
I'm saying that, can somebody explain in detail why we are different from Catholic?
It has to do with the way it has to do with the way we're funded, which is coming from mostly about 85% of the taxes in the town basically pay teacher salary. You're also under the auspices of the Department of Education, which basically sets the guidelines and the rules for how you run a school. And there's a kind of high accountability factor because of the funding, whereas Catholic schools and private schools do not come under those auspices, and they don't get the funding. Charter schools do get funding. Charter schools are public schools.
Okay, so the CDC doesn't actually equal funding. So they don't have different bodies than us. The virus is the virus, whether you go to Catholic school or you go to public school, right?
Someone's talking and I can't hear them.
The public's talking while I'm talking, sorry.
Okay.
So basically, what you're saying is that we have to follow the Department of Ed, but the Catholic schools do not.
Exactly.
Okay, that's it, right?
Right.
Second
The only time the Catholic schools or private schools do what we do was, like, for instance, last March, when the governor came out and said, we are in a state of emergency, all schools will close.
Okay.
That's not happening right now.
Okay, and my second thing is just a comment. I've been on this board, I'm going into my 8th year, and I've worked with 5, maybe 4 superintendents, not to mention the change in admin. If you or anybody thinks that this is a joke, or that we don't care, I haven't worked this much in 8 years than I have since March, and I'm only a board member. These guys, it's daily, hour by hour, day by day, constant. And all we talk about is getting back in school. But because we're under the BOE and the CDC and all these people who honestly don't have a plan, we have no guidance and we have to do what we can. It's so frustrating to us because, I mean, mine are just graduated, but I'm paying college and they're virtual. So I know, I get it. But I'm just so frustrated because I see what these guys do. I get the emails, I'm in the meetings. This is all we talk about. So when people say, we don't care, it breaks our heart up here to hear that. Like, you guys have no idea. These guys all have kids in the school. You think we want to be home? We don't. So please understand, I have never worked in the 8 years with an administration like this. This administration is unbelievable. You want to get a phone call from the superintendent? The last boy I worked with, good luck with that. This guy, amazing, okay? You want to talk to him? Call him. This is an open door policy, this admin. So I get it. I know you guys are frustrated. We're going crazy, but you have to understand compared to other districts, what we have here, and please understand, this isn't the norm to be able to talk to a superintendent. Trust me when I tell you that. And I'm thankful for these guys. Tom is old but new to us. Not old, but you know Tom. But he knows, he's been here with other administration. So please, I'm begging you to understand that we're very passionate about this. And this upsets me because these guys care a lot. And I just need you guys to hear that from me. I don't have kids in the district anymore, but these guys do. So please know everything we're doing, honestly, is about these kids. That's all these guys talk about. So I appreciate it, and just hang in there, please. That's all I ask.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Martinez.
Thank
Do we have any other speakers from the public?
Yes. Mr. Karnofsky?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
We can hear you.
This is Bobby Karnowski. I'm actually a teacher at the high school. I live in town. I wanted to say congratulations. I didn't have this wait until February meeting, and especially since I saw Ms. Noonan give her little dissertation today. But we had a mock trial team, and I know that Mr. Rubin being a lawyer and Dr. Mike being a former lawyer, Mr. Rubin's there. I want to congratulate our kids who had to deal with this odd situation of trying to work through the constraints of doing a total Zoom mock trial competition. And, as Ms. Lanley, who is the head coach of the mock trial, I've helped her out for a few years now. And I just want to give the kids, the high school kids who were part of the mock trial team, a little bit of a recognition. They actually won a round. They lost us another round, but our scores are so high, we actually made it to a third round. And I just want to give the kids a little recognition for their hard work, their dedication. Most of the kids play so many or do so many of their clubs and whatnot. And it was just a great thing to see these kids shine through all the adversity and all the how hard it is to do Zoom and meet virtually and whatnot. And the kids were so proud of themselves. And as a teacher and as a citizen, I just want to give those kids some recognition. I want to do it now, not wait until February, because we just got done with our competition last week. But the members of the mock trial team deserve a little bit of kudos for everybody in town. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Knapp.
Mr. Abrams, if you're okay if I follow up on that just briefly? I actually, in my private life, I am an attorney, I was actually a judge for the mock trial team. The amount of work that these kids put into it, as a practicing trial attorney, to have to do arguments into a camera is really uncomfortable, it's very, very difficult. Very hard to maintain that level of professionalism, and all of the kids were awesome. The competition is over, so I got very good feedback, although I was not allowed to judge our school. That seemed to have the appearance of impropriety. I did get the down low, and I heard that they were phenomenal, so I was very happy to see that they did advance. So congratulations to you, Mr. Karnofsky. I would also add, as a testament to that, the Mullet County Bar Association puts that on, and there's about 4 or 5 attorneys who are organizing it. The first night was an hour and a half delayed because they could not figure out how to do the Zoom. And I know Mr. Karnofsky made a comment and a suggestion along with some other teachers, and it was very interesting to suddenly sit in their shoes. And again, I commend them. I shared just sort of press, sorry, we're going on a little bit here, but on what Ms. Martinez says, I said it when I sat in the chair, Mr. Abrams now sits in. This is incredibly frustrating times, and having 2 kids in district, a freshman and a junior. There are tears that I have shed, there are tears that my children have shed, and there are laughs and there are joys. There are teachers who have gone above and beyond, and there are teachers who wanted to pull their hair out of frustration, and they've all been phenomenal. But we've all had to be very patient with each other. And I know that I got tired of saying, please be patient, but every move we keep trying to make to get back in here with the policy for the facilities, it's all about getting the kids back to school and meeting those social and emotional needs, because there's no doubt, especially for us parents who have kids in district, we're feeling that pain through our kids. We see it. It's not something we take lightly. Along the lines of what Ms. Martinez says, the blood, sweat, and tears that the board has put into this, there isn't a barrel big enough to catch them all. And so it is, you learn to live with it. I suppose when you run for office, you sort of sign up for it to some degree. But this board loves these kids, and this administration loves these kids. And we are doing everything we can to make these kids the best adults that they can be. And I hope, I believe that we will all be better for it, and there is something to be learned doing. Thank you. Sorry. Lawyer Braun,
Thank you, Mrs. Freeman. Two things. One, if we could please, I know this is probably going to happen, but I just want to make sure that we have the names of those kids that were involved in the mock trial, so that this way, not just say that there were students involved, actual names of those that were involved in that mock trial. And the other part of I want to say, to just piggyback on what was said, what I said before, is that we're not looking for things to remain the same. We're continuously planning to go to the next level, and even 2 or 3 levels out. So if you think that we're satisfied as a board with what we are today and what plan we have today, you couldn't be more wrong. We're not. We're constantly looking at moving forward, progressing, and how many more kids can we bring back in. So please don't think we're satisfied or that we're complacent and we're just going to ride it out from now until whenever. It's not that way at all. When we get the information we need, that we can move forward to the next step in the plan, and there is a plan by the district had to be submitted to the county in the summertime. We will move to that next level. But as I said before, as other people have brought up, the CDC and the Department of Health changes those plans, and sometimes they change them to the tune of which, no, we didn't think about that, no, we didn't have to deal with that, so sometimes you're planning on the run. But the plans, the bottom of the plan, every plan you put together is for the safety and well-being of the entire community. So, do we have anybody else, public?
I want to let you know that I don't blame the board per se. My issue is the lack. My name is Cindy Santora, William Road.
Okay.
The lack of, you say you have a plan, you have a plan, you have a plan, but we're not seeing this plan. And when we hear about it, it always feels like it's like 2 steps behind everything else. You have to understand that, right? Does everyone
Right,
understand where we're coming from?
and I promise you that we're going to do better, and we hear what you say, and we hear what other parents have said, and, many parents come up, and talk about transparency when it comes to the plan. Probably the last real plan that, parents have been able to look at and review has been the plan that was handed into the county back in the summer, because that plan was posted on the website, on the board website. The problem is, and I know that, you're aware of this, as anybody else, is that when we turn around and say, okay, over the next month or so, this is what we would like to do, and I believe we can do that. But then you have to take into consideration, if you're reading what the CDC is putting out, if you're seeing what's on TV with the medical and the science field, that they turn around and they start saying, there's a big problem coming up. And I hate to get into this yo-yoing that many of the districts are in, where suddenly they open, then they close, then they open, then they close. It's crazy. It drives parents even more frustrated and furious. with what everyone's doing. So, you know, I agree with you and with other parents that they'd like to come up with, you know, more than a one-stage plan, you know, come up with plan A, plan B, plan C. You know, the ultimate plan is the plan that everybody's back in school. But there's going to be many, many steps before we get there. And somebody, I don't know if it was you, Cindy, that mentioned about Wall, but, you know, just to let you know that Wall has the highest degree of an infection rate in the county of Monmouth. And they're a red zone right now.
K through 5 has been going through.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, so please finish what you're going to say.
Go ahead, Cindy, say something.
No, I was going to answer.
Public school.
Okay, well, here, actually, I was just, I'm sorry, this is my third time, so maybe, is this okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, all right, yeah, this is Diana Pell, and I guess I just wondered, you know, on the other side, I do appreciate that you guys have the children in mind, absolutely, and just wanted to kind of explain. I mean, when you feel the frustration here, it is really, I mean, it's our hearts, and, you know, I think about my son's best friend. You know, I have big hopes for him. I mean, we're going to be helping him go to college, certainly. But I mean, he's in 5th grade, so that's big plans for the future. Since March, I mean, he went from being an AB student to, I mean, you could look at his record. It went to C's and then D's, and now, I mean, I helped his mom do the meeting with the teacher on my phone, and he's in D's and F's, and he's reading 2 grade levels below normal when he was in enrichment before this. And even last week, the days he was in school, he obviously got marked for attendance, and he also did all of his assignments. And the day that I had him in a learning pod that I have him in, he was okay. I let him be at home. One day, it was the first time he'd been home during a school day since September, and he missed his assignments, just like he did back in September. I signed him up for a learning pod partway through September because he had 9 absences in the first 3 weeks of school. And he's 10, he's home alone. That's the thing, is that we're every day. I understand that you're concerned about this yo-yoing in and out, but every day is incredibly valuable to us. And that's when we get enraged, is because days were taken away. And that's where we're coming from. I don't know what else to say, really. But
For us, it's a
I
point of
hear you,
frustration.
I hear you, and somebody asked before, I don't know, I don't think it was you, but somebody asked before, you know, I'd be the first one to tell you, is that the majority of students, there is going to be a regression. So kids that might have been on a particular level, they're losing maybe 2, 3 levels of comprehension and in their education, and we all know that. So if you want to turn around and say, well, what do you guys plan to do about that? We're talking about summer school. We're talking about tutoring. We're talking about ways of, for educational compensation to bring back some of this and help. Is it going to help every child? No, every child is going to need a different level of intervention. But we are, as educators, aware of that. I'm sorry, I really have to apologize if parents out there are thinking, because we sit at the dais and it's almost as if we're not responding to, your frustration and your hurt and your anger. You know the old saying where people say, the tension is so thick in here you can cut it with a knife. Well, that goes for frustration as well. It goes for that as well. We're going to try, because people are asking for transparency, we're going to try to be more definitive in the plans that we're able to do, that are reasonable and we're able to do. But we're also going to say to you that depending on how this infectious time, this virus goes, we might have to pull back. And sometimes, like for instance, over the weekend, there were a couple of districts that, they told their parents Friday night that they went from having cohorts, they went to having more kids in, and then they turned around and said, Monday we're going full remote. And I'm sure that a great many parents who work, go to Manhattan, work at other jobs, and suddenly they're going to have to be at home with their kids. We get all of this. We do. Believe me, we do.
I would like to say one more thing.
Yes,
I appreciate you, Ms. Martinez, for highlighting the Catholic school and the public school, because I have neighbors that attend St. Ben's, and unfortunately, I couldn't get my kids in, there was a wait list. So you have to understand the frustration of watching them go to school every single day, 8 to 2:30, every day. It's super frustrating. However, my in-laws live right at the end of Allenwood School, and we thought about moving to Wall with them because K through 5 has been in person since September. They made it a priority for their elementary school kids to get 5 half days. Holmdel School, which is right around the corner, the district, has been very public. They're Board of Ed. I'm pushing back against the union, and they are now offering 5 in-person days. There is no difference between us and Holmdel. I can throw a rock over the street, and that's Holmdel. They aren't secluded. That's where my personal frustration comes in. That's where I'm frustrated because I pay a lot of taxes in this town, and I was very happy with the public school system, and it's very frustrating to have to budget to get my kids an education that they deserve when I'm paying so much in taxes, and then I see Holmdel, which is right around the corner, and their board has been very vocal in the papers, fighting back and putting their kids in person. And they have to follow the same guidelines as us. That is what makes me, personally, as I know lots of other people, go, what is happening? That's where the answers of we have to follow the CDC guidelines, everything is ever changing. I get it, I'm aware of that. But how is that school district doing this and we can't? That's where I don't understand.
And you know what, I can't answer that, off the top of my head, because I'm not gonna get into a comparative thing between what we do and others do. I know of districts in multiple counties that have moved for 5 days full-time, and they've had to pull back, or one of their schools was 5 days full-time, and the rest of the schools weren't. I can't get into a comparative thing, but, from what has been said, we are going to try our best to be transparent in our plans and just understand that, if we end up going red zone, if we end up having an increase, Aberdeen has a much higher increase than Matawan. The amount of people in Aberdeen and Matawan is completely different, but, they're over 1,200 in Aberdeen. So you turn around and you say, we're going to do the best we can. And I guess, I don't know if it's going to lessen your frustration, but I think that at least what you're asking for is, can you please tell me that you're moving in a positive direction so that we feel that you're hearing us and we feel that at least there is a plan and there's steps to this plan and there's more than just one plan. So that, let's say you're on plan C, the rug isn't pulled out, and suddenly we're all going remote, we don't know why.
Well, I don't think that's the issue. I think the issue is, for me personally, I don't have a question. I just don't understand, common sense logic. How is Holmdel in 5 full days, and they have to adhere to the same guidelines that we do, and we are not? We still should be able to offer full virtual for parents and families that it works for them. I'm not trying to say get rid of virtual. Some kids do great, some kids don't. But there should be an option for students to be coming in, especially, this is my oldest, my baby, he's my 10-year-old. This is his last year of elementary school. And he doesn't even have a school picture. Our Boyd Road couldn't even get together where they can get a school picture. All the other elementary schools did it. And he's missing out on all these milestones. And yes, he'll be fine. But what if he's not, And that's the frustration of me and my 10-year-old who's like, I'm missing this, I'm missing that. This is my last year of elementary school. And then he goes to middle school and he's supposed to be this big grown-up. It's more than that. To me, I'm like, how is Holmdel going? How are we not going? Same guidelines, what is the difference? Is it money? Because I think that the 80% that my taxes pay doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm looking at it from just like a plain and simple. How are all these other towns going and we aren't? And we're the same county.
Believe me, what you think all these other towns are doing, they're not doing. Okay?
So you're
But
telling me that Holmdel is not in person right now?
Some of them are, for instance, a number of them around us have already pulled back. Some towns, as I said before, in Monmouth County are in a red zone. When they're in a red zone, they basically have different plans. Some of them are still in the region of orange, which is what we are. We're going to do the best we can. I answered the best I can do, answered your questions, and I do hear the frustration. I'm sorry about how frustrated you are, but you know, we are not just hearing you, we're listening to you. And we're going to do the best to address what we can possibly address. From now until February, what is it, February 8th? God only knows what the CDC is going to come out with. We don't know, but we're going to do the best we can under the present circumstances. We really need to move on to somebody else that has a question.
Kevin, it's Mrs. Martinez. Can you talk to your, really fast, and I don't mean to put you on the spot or embarrass you, can you talk to your background and your education, please, of what you do?
I really don't think it's relevant right now, but
But I feel like it is relevant because of
if
your
you
knowledge.
feel, okay, if you feel it is, I've been in the education business for 15 years this year. I started as a teacher. I basically went up to a superintendency. I was a superintendent for close to 14 years, and I just finished 2.5 years as a county superintendent overlooking Ocean County. I had 3 districts in Monmouth County and one district in Woodbridge. So when I try to tell you that everything is not the same, and I try to tell you that, you know, sometimes what districts will tell you or what districts put into papers or online isn't always the truth. What they like to do is the same as like we all would like to do, and that is bring back as many children as we possibly can. So when you talk about, even before, when I was talking about the difference between Catholic schools and private schools and what public schools have to do, that's my business. I lived with that for 50 years. Okay, so I'm trying to guide us in the right direction. I keep telling you that, you know, there's many times I have attended many board meetings in many districts throughout the state with people that have been frustrated during the pandemic and prior to the pandemic, you know, so, you know, please try to have a little faith in the board and the administration and the staff, the teaching staff, that we are all looking to get back and we're getting anxious to get back. So one thing I will tell you is that, yes, the CDC and the Department of Health, CDC is putting out guidance. The Department of Health is not going to tell you what to do. They're going to recommend or suggest. And the one area that you are not getting the guidance from, if you want to say, somebody tell us what to do, you're not getting that from the Department of Education. And you're not hearing that from the governor. Okay? What's happened different from last spring, from March to June, what changed coming in the summer was every district put a plan together as to how you can best get your children back in person. And it was put on the boards of education, and it was put on the counties. And every county, 600 districts, many of them are as different as night and day. Night and day. You already have a whole bunch of districts, most of them in the city and urban, they're closer the rest of the year. So we're all different, and we're trying to address the needs of our community. So please, try to have, as Mrs. Friedman had said once, try to have some patience, try to have a little faith. You have a superintendent here that basically gets back to you, as Mrs. Martinez said, gets back to you when you ask him to. He doesn't ignore anybody. There's an open door policy. So we're trying to get back to, I hate to use this word normalcy because there's nothing going to be normal, you know, for a long time. You know, wearing masks and having plexiglass and staying 6 feet apart is not normal. It will help getting the kids back in, but it's not normal. Do you have any questions?
If I could comment.
Okay.
First, I'd like to say that I completely hear the frustration every single day. I completely understand the frustration. I have 3 children of my own, and I have a handicapped sister who I care for who hasn't been in a program since last March. You have my word that this board, this administration, this staff is working nonstop to get us back to as close to what normalcy is as possible. And we are not going to stop until we get to that point. And we've been talking about a lot of different things tonight, but one thing is clear, that this board, this administration, and this staff wants to get back to as close as normal as we can get as soon as possible, and that is what we're charged with, and that is the endeavor that we are on right now, and that is what we're working towards. And you have my word, speaking on behalf of the board, administration, and the staff. And I can tell you, if you spoke to any person that is a part of the Mattawan Aberdeen Regional School District, they would tell you the exact same thing. And I'll state that again, you have my word that that is what we're working towards, and I will continue to work with everybody to get to that point. And I will engage anyone in conversation, but we need to move forward together and cross those bridges together, because that's the community that we are.
You have anyone else?
No.
No.
Can I have a motion and a second to adjourn from the meeting?
I'll motion Osborne.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Guys, please be safe out there. Stay well, stay safe.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.